Hey everybody, Tim here. So what you're about to hear was supposed to be our Thursday episode, our main episode this week. And between then and now, I got some communication, had some special opportunity come up. So we're actually doing a special episode that will be released a little later on Thursday. So we figured we'd give this to you for our Tuesday episode. Enjoy. And see you Thursday. You don't want to miss that one.
This is Off Track.
Oh, we lost Alex.
God, I love not having the worst internet anymore. Hello and welcome to Off Track with Hinch and Tim. Rossi was here momentarily, and now he's left.
Okay.
Wasn't he having internet problems the other day, too?
Yeah, I mean this with every bit of respect, James. You look exhausted.
You know what, Tim? I accept that with every bit of respect because it's an accurate description. I am exhausted. It's exhausting doing live television for lots of hours on a day, in a weekend, in a different country when you're not been sleeping great, you know? Brazil is a beautiful place. It has a lot going for it. What I can tell you is that the specific hotel in Brazil in which I am staying on this endeavor here with the Grand Prix, not the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in, if I'm being totally honest with you. And I've been here for a minute now, and so it's a lot of not the best sleeps, followed by a lot of long days at the track. But you also look like but for no reason. So
yeah, I've been painting. I've been painting the walls in my apartment because I've been here like 12 years and I've never done that. So like there's just scuffs and stuff all over. I don't think I'm supposed to be painting it, but I figure I've been here 12 years. I'm not getting the safety deposit back anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to hold back your safety deposit money for making it look nicer. I don't think that's normally what that's about.
We'll see.
Actually, I did give you a lot of credit,
but it's like
though,
80
you
degrees.
did all the painting yourself.
Yeah, but it's like 80 degrees, so it's kind of warm today. So I just finished putting on another coat of paint on the walls above the stairs, and I'm hot. That's why I look like that. I just generally don't care about my appearance.
That was more that. I didn't think you looked any different than normal. Yeah.
All right, we got Alex back. Where are you, Alex?
I'm at my house, Tim.
It's in Kelly's
office? That makes sense.
So Alex's screen name is not tired. And based on the general demeanor that we're seeing from him, we thought maybe I was the more tired one, but I don't think that's true. How you doing, pal?
I'm fine. I don't have internet that works.
What's the latest with that? Why is that a thing still?
I don't know, James. Anyways,
all right.
I am.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch F1. How'd it go?
Well, even if you did, your opinion would probably be very wrong. So
just trying to get the conversation going. Good to see you too, though, pal.
I mean, Alex, do we want to start with you and let's start with you. Let's start with you.
I don't care.
I just want to start with you. I want to start with, first of all, just how you do it, because
fine.
You seem well. Your name says you're tired. I'm not going to say you seem tired. I'm going to say your name says you're tired. Are you tired, pal?
No.
Are you okay? Okay, we'll go all the way back then. We'll go all the way back to Phoenix. You were in Phoenix not that long ago doing some tire testing for Firestone. For our triumphant return to Phoenix in a doubleheader extravaganza with NASCAR next April? Question mark, I think.
March,
April? Or yeah, March. March makes sense.
Definitely March.
Definitely March. Yeah. No, you would know. How'd it go? How was it?
The tire test itself went great because I have to
tip your hat. He's tipping his hat, folks, listening on iPhones and Apple Watches.
To Firestone, because I think that rightly or wrongly, tire manufacturers come under a lot of criticism. And there is a lot of expectation that they have placed on them to solve a lot of the problems of racing, whether that be the quality of the racing, the general distinguishing factors between compounds, all while their company bottom line is directly affected by whether or not the tires fail. Because if Firestone tires are failing, that will have a direct impact on, Firestone sales on Monday. If Firestone tires don't degrade enough or degrade slightly too much, that's not going to have an impact on Firestone sales on Monday. So it's a difficult job for all manufacturers because the series and the drivers and the teams are looking to them to create a tire that makes great racing, and that feels good and that it performs well. And ultimately they want to do that as well, but their number one priority is the safety of the cars and the drivers and the end product being durable enough to meet the standards. So with that being said, they brought, I want to say, almost 20 different types of tires.
Oh my
God. That is ranging from compounds to constructions. That's ranging from sizes,
stagger,
which is in the stagger realm, and also in widths, which is something very new.
That is super new.
Super new. And I don't want to get into a lot of the details because I don't know how much of it will actually come back for the race in March, because they have to do a lot of post-test analysis of how these varying tires and those combinations held up. So they'll take all the tires back, they'll cut them open, they'll put them under a microscope and kind of look through all the data and see, okay, that tire may have been great on track, but we're not confident in its durability across 26 cars for a whole stint, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to go into what was good or what was better and what was worse, but the fact that there was so many options and that there was such an effort put into this test really was cool to see. And talking to Scott Dixon about it, he was like, man, I haven't been a part of a tire test like this in the better part of a decade, and there's a lot of reasons for that. There's sometimes a tire test that is happening because there's a very clear directive from either them or from IndyCar, like we have to solve X problem. That's it. And whatever tire we find that solves X problem is the tire we're going to go with. This is a little bit unique in the sense that we're going back to a track that we haven't been to in 10 years.
Right.
The car is wildly different than it was last time we were there. But also I think Firestone is very aware that they have a huge influence on our racing product, especially on the short ovals. So they took that to heart, I think, in a lot of ways. And so it was a 2-day test. We did between us, I think, over 1,000 laps.
Wow.
So it was really cool to be a part of. And I left there being pretty blown away with the effort that everyone put into that test. So 2 thumbs up from me.
That is a monumental effort, because I've been part of tire tests and I've never heard those kind of numbers. I mean, 2 days, 20 different tires to bring.
Man, I never left pit lane once. So the first day we had 2 sets of tires to get the balance right? Like we haven't been there in forever. We have no idea what aero balance you need, ride height, whatever, that sort of thing. Scott and I had to get our eye in and figure that out. After that, which was, I want to say 5 runs across 2 sets of tires, I never once left pit lane on a non-new set of tires.
The best part about tire testing is you just throwing new boots at it all day long, and you just feel like Superman. But that's what they need, right?
We even did a highline session. We did a lot of things. It was badass.
Okay, I have so many questions. So I mean, with that amount of tire. Okay, well, let's backtrack a little bit for Aunt Linda. So when you're doing a tire test, right? Obviously, they've brought this wide variety of different things. what is it that they're asking of you? What is it that you're trying to feel? And like, what's the sort of specific feedback that you're trying to give them?
So the first day was all short runs. So it was ripping through all of the options that they had. And those runs they wanted 7 laps. So 9 laps, including an out in, 7 laps, QSIM-esque, meaning, okay, it's obviously not a QSIM because it's more than 2 laps, but as fast as you can go, light fuel, basically just as you would in an outing of a practice session, right? You're fueling it for 10 laps and you're just pushing the whole time. And come in and give us feedback on grip, balance, and any other characteristics, like is
how quickly
is
they
there any
come
vibration coming? Is there any sort of deg? How quickly do they come in? That sort of thing. So day 1 was really focused on the short run side of things. At the end of day 1, we did 1 half tank group run. 2 cars, but
Group of 2 cars,
we left together, and we did a 25 lap run just to kind of see, all right, what are we working with here? This was also kind of an IndyCar test as well, because they wanted to get an initial impression of downforce levels and what they needed to be at for what the spec is going to be. You know, does this fall in a St. Louis 2025 spec, or does it fall in a St. Louis 2023 spec? Like where is Phoenix at from a grip standpoint and raceability? And then day 2 was another group run, but we wanted to do it after a highline session because we wanted to at least give ourselves a chance to use lane 2 if it became viable. And then after that, it was 55 lap runs. So you go out on a set, 55 laps, pit, another set on, 55 laps, another set, 55 laps. So you're just hammering for most of the day 2. And that was really, they cared about your comments a little bit, but it was really for them to see what the right front tire was doing from a temperature standpoint. Because obviously, you know, the right front, ever since the aero screen has come on board, has been under a lot of extra stress with the added weight over the front axle. So the right front tire has been the tire that has had failures if that's going to happen. So for them, and they're very aware of it, it's at this tire temperature that it fails. So we want to see over the 55 laps, does it even get into that zone or trending towards that zone? So yes, that was the purpose of the 2 days and the run plan.
So you got to do the highline practice, which was probably like some kind of a first in that type of test. But selfishly, just from my own knowledge and hope, like, were you guys able to kind of run close and like, could you kind of make the second lane work? Because that was never really something we were able to do at Old Phoenix. Because again, the tracks changed too, right? It's a slightly different configuration.
I mean, not really. The numbers have changed, but the track's the same. I would say no, but not because the highline didn't work. When we went and did the highline session, it was 0.6 slower, 0.7 slower. Well, it depends on the set of tires. So let's call it 0.6 slower than the normal racing line. A lot of grip. It was comfortable to run up there. It wasn't a problem. When you have 2 cars, lane 2 is never going to work because lane 1's faster. And so if you run lane 2, you're going to get left because you're still 0.6 slower. Both Scott and I agreed that if the leader had come up on traffic, 0.6 slower is viable to be an option. It just, and this is the thing with short oval racing, it's a matter of, will someone be up there early enough to protect it from getting marbles by the time the leaders catch the back? But because it's not bumpy up there, it's not like grooved, like it's the same as lane 2. And the good thing is, it's the same as lane 1. The good thing is the only other series that really races there is Cup. And Cup either runs below the yellow line, like on the apron, or they run up against the wall. So it's not like our racing line is the rubbered up, gripped up line, like over events and events and years. So the difference between lane 1 and lane 2 is really not that much, because a lot of other series don't actually run where IndyCars run. So I think that's the other reason why it was actually about the same. You're just covering more distance, sort of thing. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Like we have to get the right tire, because there were some tires that were way worse than others.
Right.
And we have to get the right downforce package, because there were some downforce levels that were way worse than others. But I believe that they have the solution to what they need to make it a fantastic race when we go back there.
So there's two things for me on that. I mean, we kind of made the comment last week when you said you were going there that it's like, oh yeah, we're going to go pound around after Cup's just been there and done 3,000 laps. Well, we're racing there on a Cup weekend. So like there actually is going to be a bunch of that rubber in those places. So maybe there was some premeditated
Believe it or not, man,
interest
there was
in doing
no rubber
that.
down.
There's something. It's not
very little. It's because their tires like turned to dust apparently. So like,
oh yeah, I have heard that.
You
I
would
have heard that.
be stunned. Like the track looked clean.
Yeah.
It was like, did it rain?
That's fine.
No. Yeah.
So the other thing for me was I was going to ask that question about aero. So this was not just an IndyCar, not just a Firestone thing. IndyCar was also there testing aero packages or has anyone else run there yet?
No.
Just on the IndyCar side? Okay. So you guys were doing that as well. That's also good to know, because I wasn't sure if it was, because normally with a tire test, you set the car up, you do your 5 runs or whatever, and then you don't get to touch it for the rest of the 2 days in terms of setup. But IndyCar was there and they were assessing different configurations for aero.
They were, but a lot of it. So IndyCar, reading between the lines, and I don't think I'm oversharing here. IndyCar wants more downforce because they know that makes the racing better. Firestone does not, to a point, because that puts more load on the tire, which brings it closer to a failure point. So both are aware of each other's wishes.
Wants
and both
and needs,
are aware of each other's concerns, and you got to find a happy medium, right? So, again, there was some that were clear. There was like, that would be awesome, but obviously that's not going to work. And there was some that was like, that is horrible. Please don't ever think about bringing that. And then there were some that were and there were some that were quite good. So again, super successful. Very cool to be part of it. Firestone will be back with 2 more cars in January, with like probably 3 options to kind of do a final run and make their final decision before the open test in February. But I mean, they've put, like I said, super impressed with the effort that they put into it. And because of all of this homework, I do think that it's going to be a very different race and product than what we had in March. Than what we had in 2018 in March. And it's low key super important, because it's a doubleheader weekend, going to be a lot of eyeballs on IndyCar, and we need to make a very good impression. So one thing I learned that's disappointing, but it is what it is. Are you or are you not under the impression that it is a Saturday night race?
Well, I was until you just said that.
Yeah, the way you said that makes me think it's not now.
But you were under the impression it was a Saturday night race.
Are we a Saturday day race?
Well, what do you classify noon as? Like, is that night?
It's the daytime of the night.
Like, exactly the daytime of the night.
The daytime
Time
of the night.
is an illusion.
Some would call
Lunchtime
it
doubly
midday.
so.
It's like
the opposite of
between
midnight
day and night.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, not a night.
Good news is you can
event.
get home Saturday night.
You mean we have more time for Applebee's Saturday night?
Yeah, I don't want to red eye home, so I'll hang out with Tim at the Applebee's in Goodyear, Arizona. Well, look, here's the good news, man. If you look back through our year in IndyCar, short ovals, we kind of did pretty well at as a series. Firestone did a pretty good job. And the series did a pretty good job with the aero package. We've had to tweak a couple things over the years, but like this year was pretty solid. All those races were pretty good. So if we could just draw off all of that experience and, as you said, put on a good show. Yeah, that is a bummer it's not a night race though. It'd be cool if we had one. But Hey, if the downforce package is right, honestly,
It doesn't matter.
daytime races mean usually kind of more dag, and that can honestly make better racing sometimes anyway.
Man, there was some tires that the dag, holy
Like seconds.
like, let's say a fast lap was a 21.0 and you were falling off to 24.5s.
Yeah, that's like old Iowa, right? That's
It's
it
getting
would
there.
get that bad.
Yeah. Like,
Did you guys like those ones, or was that too much?
No. You start the stint flat in 1 and 2, and you end the stint third gear 1 and 2.
Wow. Yikes. All right.
Yeah.
Did you were you and Scott both pretty consistent on which ones you liked and which you didn't, and feedback was pretty close?
I think it would have been, because wildly enough, every single set we were within half a tenth of each other, like lap time wise. So
wow,
I would
okay.
imagine they didn't tell us, but like we would do
Yeah.
like midday meetings and end of day meetings and everything. And like we were saying the same thing. So
That's
would
the
hope
hard
so.
part, though, about tire testing, right? Is you're sitting there and like the debrief at the end of the day. So like you go and do a run and you give your feedback, and then you go do another run, different tire, and you give your feedback. You go do another run, different tire, give your feedback. And it's like, yeah, this one's slightly more front grip mid corner. Or, hey, this one warms up a little bit faster, but the peak grip's not as high. And then you go through it all. And then you do like the midday or the end of day, and you've probably done 14 sets of tires in that time. And they're like, okay, so set 11B, you said this, so that was better. That you're like, I don't know, man. By like the 8th set, they all kind of went to get whatever I said.
It's like wine tasting. It's like wine tasting.
Yes. Tire testing is just like wine
Yes.
tasting. It doesn't
Yes.
matter after the 5th glass.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're just not really performing at you. You just don't know what's
So
happening.
what you're saying is
tastes-
I would be really good at tire testing.
No, because you're not good at wine tasting.
I'm phenomenal at wine tasting.
Mm.
it's the feedback of the wine that you struggle with, Tim. You're just like, this tastes good.
Generally pro. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
Just
that
for-
one. Yeah.
Guys,
For it.
I'm a big tire guy. I'm happy with all of these.
Well, this is all very good. That's good. I also am now cautiously optimistic by that feedback. I gotta say, man, I completely understand the thinking, the philosophy, the mindset of any tire company in racing, because this is like a universal truth across them all, that tire failures look bad. It's bad PR, right? But I mean, are people really going to buy less of a given tire because under extreme conditions in a very competitive motorsports environment, there's a failure or two? Like, are you going to really?
I think so, James,
I
because
guess
we
maybe-
know for better or worse, race fans are opinionated.
Yeah.
And so if they deem something to be bad, then I could see it influencing their decision.
But I almost feel like if and I'm just going to say tire company X, right? Like, because this is a universal thing. If a spec tire, if a tire vendor for a given series was protecting so much against failures that the racing wasn't good, and all the teams and drivers were complaining that the racing wasn't good because of the tire, I almost feel like fans would be more inclined to revolt about that than we've pushed the limits on making the racing good. Occasionally a tire fails, but like maybe if their favorite driver's tire fails while he's going for a win or she's going for a win, and maybe I don't know.
So
I guess it's just bad for us.
I'm obviously fairly involved in the sport. And when Pirelli took over from Michelin, well, Bridgestone, but whatever, Bridgestone, Michelin.
When they became the sole supplier.
When Pirelli took over in Europe in Formula One, their initial couple years was pretty bad. Rough. And I, at the time, owned an Audi sedan, and I had to go get new tires. It was a performance car, right? And I specifically chose against getting P0s and getting Michelin Super Sports, or whatever they're called, like the performance equivalent from Michelin. Now, that was because I had some personal firsthand experience of being wildly annoyed with Pirelli and the tire that was being given for GP2 cars and such. And I was like, F this, I'm pissed. But like, I also could understand that that's going to have no impact on 30,000 miles that I put on my road tire. But I still didn't buy it.
Yeah. I guess it's all marketing, right? Like everything's just marketing. And so if
the image and the idea of the company that you have in your head. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, hey, look, they're doing a good job at the moment, and they would know these things more than me.
I tell you what would influence my next purchase of tires. If a tire manufacturer were to sponsor Off Track, I would then become that guy.
And you know what?
What about a brake sponsor, Tim?
Oh yeah. So this is funny.
Oh boy.
Alex and I were driving down to the Breeders' Cup, and Alex was driving because of the two of us, he's the professional driver. And
just barely, but
I don't really drive all that much in my day-to-day life. Pretty much only drive 3 miles to take Hazel to school and the 3 miles to pick Hazel up. None of that's highway. Alex noticed that.
Pause. This is how much Tim knows about vehicles. I was like, when he tells this story, I was like, well, it'll be covered under warranty because you're like, this is under 5 years old. And
by the way, it wasn't.
Under 50,
it was not covered under warranty.
Whatever. And under 50,000 miles. And he was like, it's got over 50,000 miles on it. And I'm literally looking at the odometer that says 28,897.
I had just made the service appointment on the app and I thought it said 60 something. So I was just going off that.
Okay.
But anyway,
so go on.
So Alex noticed that when he was applying the brakes on the highway, like you have to do in LA traffic a lot, it had a bit of a shimmy.
Most highways at some point, Tim, you have to hit a brake.
Not
it's not just an LA thing.
James. Like it felt as though, you know, when sometimes an airplane lands and they're hard on the brakes and the overhead compartments are like absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It was that.
Warped rotor feeling. Yeah.
Oh.
So funny you should mention that because Alex goes, you got a warped rotor. It could maybe be the brake pads, but it's not making any like squeaking noises. So it's probably a warped rotor. So that was Saturday. I made an appointment at the dealership on Friday and he was like, but you need to tell me what it is after you take it in, because like if I'm wrong on this, it's pretty embarrassing. So I get in, I explain the noise. The guy's like, sounds like a rotor issue. Could be the brake pads. We'll check. An hour later, they call back. They're like, yeah, so you got a warp rotor. You need to get that. We're going to replace that. It was not under warranty. But yeah, I was very impressed at Alex's ability to diagnose the issue in the car. I'm now less impressed because James was able to diagnose it secondhand hearing about it.
Just the description. No, just be more impressed with me. You don't have to be less impressed with him. What he did was very impressive.
No, here's the thing. I think everyone knows that, Tim.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Exactly.
That's actually the point, Tim. It's not that either of us did anything impressive. It's that shockingly unimpressive.
And the fact that the fact that you didn't realize it, I made a comment as we were pulling out of your neighborhood, which is under a quarter mile from your garage.
Yeah, he said the brakes were very sensitive.
And then
at first you just said sensitive. It wasn't until highway that you were like, oh, you got a problem here.
Anyways,
all right, my bad car trouble aside, there was an F1 race, I assume.
There was. No, I came to Sao Paulo for giggles. There was. Alex, did you catch any of it?
I did not catch sprint qualifying. I caught sprint race. I caught Q1 of normal qualifying, and I caught the race. So yeah, I'm pretty.
That's the majority. That's a good amount. Yeah. So sprint race then. Let's start there because that kind of had a big impact on things for a lot of people. Literally. Yeah, dude, that Bortoleto crash, my God, looked so violent and so out of control. Destroyed that car. Some of the pictures out of it were ridiculous, but luckily he was fine. Car, less so. RIP car. But no, up at the front. So yeah, mixed conditions kind of to start. Well, I say that. It was dry, but wet patches and damp, whatever.
Front straight was pretty wet.
There was some heavily damp patches on the front straight, and like turn one was even still a little bit damp. But long story short, you got Lando running first, you got Antonelli running second, kind of hounding him, and then Piastri third. And, you know, this run that Lando's been on, taking points away from Oscar, and Oscar was a little bit closer, you know, in pace to Lando this weekend. Still not that close, just fewer people in between them. And then, yeah, turn three, got up on the curb, turfed it off into the wall. It's tough, man. And it was just kind of the beginning of, it wasn't even the beginning. It was the next stage in a rough weekend for him. Two other guys did the exact same thing right after him, which was, I don't know. Do you feel better at that point if you've made a mistake as a driver and then like your car comes to a stop and you look up and two other cars have also bended off in the same point? You're like, okay, so clearly it's not easy right now.
So I had that exact situation in Silverstone. It was a drying race and you're on slicks, and I was running like fifth or something, and I fired it off in a brake zone, and I was like in the wall, like head in hands, and then I got pounded by three more cars, and I was like, oh, wow. I mean, clearly,
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, clearly it was impossible to get through that corner. So yes, it does make, I mean, obviously it still feels, but there's at least that slight bit of relief that it was a hard situation.
Yeah. Felt bad for him. Colapinto went off there. Hulkenberg went off there.
Max also went through
flag.
said damp patch and had a massive moment and didn't crash. So it was possible.
True. Lando also had spray come off his tire in that same spot seconds before.
Well, do you not think so? Lando used a lot of curb there. Lot of curb there, and the subsequent cars that went through there all kind of fired it off. So
the point that kind of made me think like, yeah, that might have had something to do with it. It was when you're on Antonelli's onboard, who's running second, and he's right behind Lando, and there's this like the onboard camera gets like this big amount of spray on it, and then the next car goes off. So that was tough for Oscar. Lando wins the sprint race over Antonelli and Russell, and then in the Grand Prix, you said you missed Q3. Lando, he obviously got pole, but it was, you know, he was 10th going into the last run because he botched his first attempt, and big pressure. Piastri was P1 at the time. He was P10. Big pressure, you know, situation. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people have given Lando shit about, you know, this year, is he doesn't handle those high pressure situations, especially in qualifying as well. But he pulled it off, man. Had like a massive gap to P2 and looked like it was going to be kind of Mexico City all over again. Max goes out in Q1. The first time that he's been out in Q1 based on pure performance in his entire career. He's gone out because of accidents or like mechanical failures or PU things or whatever. He's never just been one of the slowest 5 cars in his entire career until this weekend. That is insane.
That's why I turned it off.
Like he's done no one to threaten. So,
well, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, why do I want Max, who has dominated this sport for the past 4 years? Why do I want him to win again? Right? And it's because it's cool. It's cool to watch. And there's countless episodes where we've gone on about this, right? You're seeing something that you might not ever see again. And so when the car let him down, because I knew that through the sprint, through practice, sprint qualifying, sprint race, whatever, like the Red Bull wasn't that good, right? So I watched qualifying for the sole purpose of, I wanted to see how far up the grid he could wrestle that thing to at least put the McLarens under pressure. Like I knew he didn't probably have a shot at the front row, but I was like, can he put it third, fifth? Like he's done so many times, right? And when he goes out in Q1, it was just like all of my joy from this qualifying session has disappeared, and I don't want to watch it. And that's a weird thing, considering another part of me really wants, you know, a Lando or Oscar to win. It's so cool to watch someone just punch so far above the weight of their car, which brings us to Sunday afternoon.
You must have loved today, then. You must have absolutely loved today because, dude, we're all saying the same thing, right? We're like, all right, to have kept this championship alive, he had to beat them in every race from Monza onwards. And he was doing that until Mexico, still beat one of them, but Lando wins. And now Lando's on pole. He ends up starting from the pit lane because he's like, I'm down in 16th. I'll take a new engine. I'll do some setup changes because obviously the setup's garbage, which I want to get to in a second. And he has a punch, starts the race, makes up a couple spots. He's already running like 13th, a handful of laps in. Gets a puncture, has to pit out of sequence. And
has to bail on the tire that was going to take him deep into the race because I think they were going to one-stop it.
It was literally the worst. It was the worst tire to have this happen to early in the race. And then he's back at the back. And now it's just like, I'm just going to go for it. I mean, he was always going for it. Dude, the drive up to third, like a second away from second place from pit lane, was one of the coolest things. Remember last year when he went from 17th to first in the wet? That was impressive. But even that, he had kind of help from a safety car or a red flag or something. Safety car? Red flag. Red flag. It was a red flag. He had to do a free pit stop basically under red. And so that helped his super impressive charge to the field. It was impressive nonetheless, but he didn't have that. He didn't have that today. He got boned by a puncture, had to make 3 stops to everyone else's 2, and was still only 10 seconds behind the leader. 22 seconds lost on pit lane. Do the math. That was an unbelievable drive.
Yeah.
It just made it look easy. He made passing cars look so easy there. And it was like, I never thought he was going to win it because Lando was just too good. But I thought for sure he had second at one point. I thought he was going to track down Antonelli.
So what's so weird? What's so weird is thanks to F1 TV, well, thanks to the massive dispute between ESPN and YouTube TV, my only option to watch Formula One is on F1 TV. And I must say,
you're welcome.
Y'all do a very good job. So
thank you.
I was forced to switch over, but I actually quite enjoyed it. But what I'm getting to is I was toggling between the onboards because you can watch an onboard from your favorite driver for the whole race if you want to. I was toggling between the onboards between Max and Yuki, right? Yuki was last on pace and Max was a threat to second and on the podium. And I'm pretty good at understanding what's going on behind the wheel of a race car. Max's car looked it didn't look good. It wasn't, the front end wasn't really sharp. The power down was okay. It didn't look hooked up on rails like you expect a Formula One car to look. And I looked at Yuki's and it looked the same. Neither car looked good. Yet somehow Max is almost a second quicker. And I couldn't depict how he was achieving it. So he has this ability to find lap time in ways that I can't even really deduce.
Yeah. Well, it's important to remember that he won't have had the same setup as Yuki because he got to make changes.
Fair.
But still, if it didn't look any different, right? It wasn't an obvious thing. But the setup thing is interesting. So Red Bull have this dilemma in a sense, right? They've got 4 cars. They have 4.5 drivers, half being the Lindblad, the driver Lindblad in F2. And they're not entirely sure what to do with anybody but Max, right? It seems to be pretty universally understood that Hadjar is going to go up to Red Bull to partner Max. Yuki's clearly not done enough, right? Before today, Red Bull had scored 351 points in the Constructors' Championship. Yuki had scored 28 of those. 28. So Max had single-handedly, by the way, Red Bull passed Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship today on the basis of a Ferrari double DNF and Max on the podium. Out of control that they're in third in the Constructors.
So you mean Max is in third in the Constructors? Yep.
Max is almost single-handedly in third in the Constructors' Championship. So there's been a lot of debate around Yuki, right? Because obviously that second Red Bull is not easy to drive and all the things we know. But there was still an argument that you'd keep him in the system next year. It's 2026. It's a brand new reg set. Having some guys with experience are probably a good thing, even if you bumped him back down to Racing Bulls, whatever, rather than bringing in a Lindblad who's a complete rookie and having not the most stellar season in F2. What happened this weekend was in the sprint race, Yuki started from pit lane because he was P19, I think, in qualifying. And they tried a new setup on him because the car was not good on Friday. They both qualified poor, 16 and 19 in the sprint. So the sprint race, he started for pit lane and got to change all the cars. So he did some setup changes, directionally came back in. His feedback was, this is better. Let's do this for qualifying. So Max put on Yuki's setup. Okay. Probably for the first time in the however long they've been teammates. Probably the first time Max has done that for any teammate since Ricciardo. And Max gets eliminated in Q1 on pure performance for the first time in his career.
I did
Even
not
if I
know
was
those
the
details.
biggest Yuki supporter within that team and was trying to justify keeping him in the system in any way we could, that to me is such a nail in the coffin.
Oh, that's worse
Like-
than really anything else that could have happened.
Like the
Spin and
one
crash
time
on a
they
wet
had to
curb,
just- One time they relied purely on his feedback, and it was the worst qualifying performance of Max's career. I don't know. We'll see what they're going to do. They're dragging their feet on it. They say they're going to make a decision before Abu Dhabi, and that's coming up. But again, it's not a slam dunk that Lindblad should get that seat because I don't know. We're getting way off track of that. We can go to that later. What I do want to touch on though is the Piastri penalty, right? So Piastri ends up the Grand Prix in fifth. The points gap now 24 points to Lando. Nice, but doesn't matter. I mean, you can lose that in one race, right? That's not even a race buffer. So like this is by no means cruise control. This is by no means protecting your lead or whatever. Everyone's still got to push. But Oscar qualified fourth and did a pretty stout move on a restart to get up into second and be right on Lando's gearbox, and he got a penalty for it. It was 3 wide, Antonelli in the middle, Leclerc on the outside. He fired in the inside, slight contact with Antonelli, pushed him into Leclerc, ended Leclerc's race. The other two kept going. What was your view on that? He got a 10-second penalty for it. What was your view on that?
Well, what my view was, he shouldn't get a penalty.
Why not?
But because Antonelli squeezed him pretty hard. Yes, Oscar had a lockup going on, but it's 3 cars into one. Oscar was going to make the corner. It's not like he was so locked up. He was, Grosjean at Portland who thought it was meters instead of feet. Like,
too soon.
Well, it wasn't like a brain fade, right? It was an aggressive move on a corner that's downhill. It drops away from you. The left front's always going to lock up there. And he was in control of the car, right? And he bumped Antonelli, which happened to put him into a slide that he caught. But in catching it, it hit Charles's left front and ended Charles's day. Charles, unlucky bystander. Antonelli, no damage to his car, kept going. Piastri, no damage to his car, kept going. It wasn't this big kerfuffle, right? So based on that, yes, Charles, his day was over, but you can't penalize Oscar for that. Because on that, there's an equal amount of possibility that Antonelli could have had an oversteer moment at the apex of one and his right rear hit Charles's left front and caused the same situation. So in my mind, the contact was between Oscar and Kimi. Both cars continued. You can't penalize Oscar for Charles going out in that situation, in my mind. That's why I thought it was too much.
Yeah, I mean, I thought basically the same thing. I thought that the penalty probably stemmed from, so it's 2 things, right? The outcome for all the drivers involved, quote unquote. And so Charles obviously is involved in that and he's out of the race. I get that. Oscar was trying to pass Charles in the sense that they were ahead, but he wasn't really trying to pass Charles. He was trying to pass Kimi, right? Charles happened to be the third guy in a 3-wide situation.
Mm-hmm.
Tough to make that work either way. I mean, at Brazil, the way the geometry of those first couple corners is, you can make that work. But as much as Charles was trying to pass Kimi, he probably had a sense by looking in his mirror that Oscar had a run and was probably going to chuck it up the inside. Kimi crowded Piastri immensely. He had a lot of room to his right to open up more and give him more room. I do fully believe he knew he was there because he gave him almost enough room, but not quite. But I do feel like the damning piece of evidence for the stewards in working against Oscar was the fact that his inside front was locked up. But to your point, I completely agree. It was locked up, but he was not out of control. There's a big difference between having a locked tire and having lost control of the car momentarily. If Kimi wasn't there, he would have made the corner perfectly fine. He was right at the apex, right on the apex. He didn't understeer out into Kimi. Kimi came down onto him, and it created that contact. So I'm 100% with you, man. And I think it's a real bummer. It doesn't take away from Lando's win because obviously he was still in front and probably was going to stay there. But it would have been, obviously for the championship, much better if Oscar had finished second instead of fifth. It's kind of the second bogus penalty that Oscar's received this year. And, for that guy, he must just be in this position of feeling like, man, like what else could go wrong for me at this point? It's been a tough stretch for him.
It has. And now is when the conspiracy theories all start to begin and that sort of thing, which there's never a dull moment in racing. Someone who said the quote that like motorsports is drama, mystery, and intrigue interrupted every 7 days by a motor race or something. Like it's a famous quote by someone who was in the sport a while ago. And it's true.
Tim will look that up in the fact check.
But it's setting us up for a good final three. I still think Max is going to make a run at it because, as we said last week, he doesn't lose in America. So he's going to win in Vegas.
He's got a really good shot in Vegas.
And I don't know. I still think there's some DNFs to unfold here in our future. But
McLaren's not traditionally great in Vegas. I know it's a small sample size. And McLaren and Ferrari can be, so they could get in the mix. If Red Bull's up there and McLaren have a bad day and the other 2/4 are up in the mix there, that could swing things. I do think Qatar is still going to be more of an Oscar track. He's very quick there. Not that Lando's not, but it's more suited to his kind of style and the strengths that we've seen out of him this year. And I think that's going to be a big test of, has Lando just really improved? Has Oscar really sort of lost his way a bit? Just because it's one where you kind of expect that, but I don't know. We'll see. It is exciting. It's good to see. At one point in the season, mid-season, we thought Oscar was going to have this thing locked up by Austin, and so I'm super stoked. When you're working these races, it's a lot better when there's a championship battle going on.
Oh hell yeah!
Huge congrats to Kimi Antonelli. Best finish of his career, up on the podium. Had some crazy pressure from Verstappen at the end there, and he did not put a wheel wrong. It was great to see that. And man, it was an exciting race. I mean, that track is known for having a lot of overtaking. It's way above the season average, and I mean Max alone, I think, passed more cars than the season average so far this year. So entertaining race. Even though it was a sprint weekend, which normally can lead to a boring Grand Prix, it was a banger. What do you have coming up in the next week?
Well, James, it's snowing outside, which is crazy.
I heard.
I don't know if you can see that.
I'm kind of excited.
I leave tomorrow morning to go to Charlotte. Monday in Charlotte. Back Monday night. Back to Charlotte on Wednesday. So yeah, a lot of Charlotting. But that's okay. But yes. Anyways,
I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we'll see you then. Thanks for coming along. Bye.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.